Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Back at it.
We back. That's a fact.
Special Halloween edition.
Yeah, we are here. Shout out to everybody that is here with us. That is love.
For sure. So this
Wow.
is this is something that is a big topic when you're talking about, said today we posted that there's actually going to be more people, over 50% of the people that work 9 to 5 jobs are considering quitting their jobs and becoming entrepreneurs, even more than the great uh, resignation. I think that's what they called it a few years ago when
hmm
a lot of people resigned from
The
their jobs. So
exodus of the jobs.
this is one of the ones, man, and as far as these holidays, they're designed to actually get you to spend money. So if you want to partake in that, that's fine, but the work never stops. So this is more important than dressing up as your favorite celebrity and going to a
Mhm.
Halloween party. I think.
There's been some creative costumes, but yeah, we grow up in an environment where there was that number that we all wanted to get to, and it was like, all right, if we can make six figures, we can make six figures, and then it was like, yeah, we can make it, but finding a career that would actually pay you, nobody tells you that. And so most people, even now, I watch some of the young people that we educated graduate and are trying to figure out how do they get to the 100,000 mark. They're taking jobs that don't really equate to it. It's an interesting time that we're in, but we got an interesting night ahead of
Well,
us.
just be clear. So the title of this is how to go from a 9 to 5 employee to a six-figure entrepreneur.
hmm
Now, before we bring our guest on, just to fully explain that, you have to earn six figures before you are a millionaire. But there's a wide range from six figures.
That's true.
100,000 is the minimum level. Six figures goes up to 999,000. So just the term six figures is not enough. But we do want to paint realistic expectations
hmm
on stepping stones. So keep that in mind. It's not just to say, okay, how do you just make $100,000 and that's it?
Yeah.
It's how do you actually become a successful entrepreneur where you actually can provide for yourself, right? That's at the six-figure level. How do you scale that to high six-figure level,
Yep.
right? And then from there, you just keep going. But that's the hardest part because the average entrepreneur makes less than $50,000 a year. So when you're looking at that standpoint, most entrepreneurs are actually making less than 9 to 5 workers.
That's the story that they don't tell.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
that's the story that it doesn't pay. And like I said, it's an interesting time because number one, our guest tonight has done it, and I'm sitting in the seat where yes, I was the 9 to 5 employee, became a full time entrepreneur, and has done it as well. So there's great insight from two ends of the spectrum here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're gonna bring our guest up, but before we do that, do remember this is last opportunity for EYO University choice options class. We actually have an event in Houston. So Houston, Texas, we will be in your area Saturday.
Yes.
Saturday, we will be in Houston, Texas. Can't wait to, tap in with all the earners. Shout out to everybody in the greater Houston area. But just wanted to remind you guys, if you're in Houston on Saturday, myself, Troy, Ian's going to pop out. Mike will be in the building. It's going to
Yes.
be really dope networking. It's not necessarily like an event where we're actually going to be talking like on a panel. We're just going to be amongst everybody. So you're going to be opportunity to talk to us, network with us, but more importantly, network with each other. Um, Refreshments, drinks, food, the whole vibe. So
Mm.
Houston, Texas, this Saturday. That's very important, and that's just for EYL University. If you're interested in EYL University, one day left to that sale. Go to EYLUniversity.com, enter code Market Mondays for that discount. But Houston, it's been a while since the last time we came, so
hmm
can't wait to see you guys. Shout out to H-Town. I heard the weather is good. So, okay, without further ado, let's bring the man of the hour up, David Shands. Dave, what's going on, my brother?
Man, everything is good, man. How are you?
We are
Good,
good, my brother. How you
good,
feeling?
good.
I am blessed, man. Excited about this conversation, man. Shouts out to all the people that are actually sitting here and learning. You could be doing anything in the world right now. And people are tuned in, man. So I just want to take my hat off to you, gentlemen, for leading the way of the financial literacy revolution. There wasn't this many people talking about stocks and REITs and trusts and all this kind of stuff before you guys came on the scene and really educated our people. So I don't think you all get enough credit. So thank you. I appreciate y'all, man.
Appreciate you, man.
So this is live, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to be going through strategies. We'll probably do some question and answers at some point. So the chat, this is actually happening in real time. So hit the like button and share too, because you can get an opportunity to get your question answered. So Dave, for people that may not be familiar with your story, I think you're the perfect person to kind of have this conversation because you embody the working man. You were actually working at Cheesecake Factory, and then you were working in a kiosk in a store, and then you became a millionaire. But in that journey, people know you from the podcast media side, but you did a variety of different things, from selling merch to you did a lot of different stuff, right? And you through that journey, you've learned a lot of different things and kind of perfected this idea of turning a 9-to-5 employee into a self-sufficient entrepreneur that is making six figures. So yeah, first and foremost, thank you for joining us. This is going to be a much needed conversation for sure.
Absolutely, man. There's a lot of multi-million-dollar talk, but what you said was you got to make six figures before you make $1 million, but you got to learn how to be an entrepreneur before you make six figures. And I don't think people give themselves enough grace. I mean, I've been trying to be an entrepreneur my whole life. I was able to finally quit my job in 2012. And then it took another like 5 years to make $1 million collectively. But from the time I left my job in 2012, it took another 8 years or 9 years to make a few million. It was like incremental growth for a long time. But then once you figure it out, you figured it out. But people don't have that type of, I didn't know how long it was supposed to take to make six figures or to make $1 million because there wasn't Instagram and there wasn't screenshots of Shopify accounts back then. It was like, I am on my own journey, so I didn't know how long it was supposed to take. I started my YouTube channel in like 2009, maybe 2008. I didn't get the first dollar from YouTube. No, I started in 2010. I didn't get the first dollar from YouTube till like 2019. So it took 9 years. But I didn't know that was behind the A ball. I didn't know that was behind the curve. I was on my own journey. So
did you use that to your benefit though, right? Because if you're not looking at screenshots, you're really not comparing yourself to anything. Or what do you look at it now as a detriment or like, wait, had I seen that, I could have been motivated and pushed a little bit harder. Because those in-between years are the years that people really don't talk about, right? Like you're saying it took you 7 years. Like those experiences that you learned from being in a 9-to-5 have helped you catapult. So was it a detriment not seeing it or did it actually help?
No, it was a blessing, bro. Yeah, you're a kid in the hood. You don't know nothing but what you know. When you get a couple dollars, you like, yo, you get a job making $15 an hour. When I was back then, yo, you're wealthy. And you're like, you're happy and you're excited. And then you get around people making six figures and you feel inferior. Bro, every day of that journey of trying to be an entrepreneur, a full-time entrepreneur was bliss, bro. Like I'm excited. I'm happy because I'm not comparing myself to anybody. I wouldn't have it no other way, bro.
That's it. All right. So let's get into this. So let's start. Okay. What do you want to start? You want to start with just actually going through the defining six figures? Because I spoke about that, but I know, six figures is a number that is very wide ranging, right? So on the pathway from 100,000 to 999,000, that's a big difference.
That's huge. I mean, I think the first question is like, how much money do you want to make? It's funny when people say they want to make six figures because they heard it somewhere because six figures isn't a number. You want to make $100,000? You want to make $250,000? You want to make $750,000? You want to make $900,000? Then I think most importantly is why do you want to make that type of money? And I'll ask y'all this. Maybe we can have this dialogue. Let's say, for instance, you're a father of a new child, and or you got some small children. The question is, how hard do you go? you go hard right now to make as much money as possible so that when they get older, you can provide for them, or do you enjoy those years that you're not going to get back? So the question is, how hard should I go, or how much do I need to make? I used to say stuff like, "Yo, I want to be a billionaire," but then I actually realized that I don't think I want to do what it takes to be a billionaire. I want to go home early. I don't want to be stressed out by like a $1 billion deal. I don't think I want to right now, because I'm understanding who I am. So my question to y'all is, what is your philosophy on that? Especially if you got small children, how much money should you make?
Yeah, everybody's different, but I mean, for me, it's you got to make as much money as possible in this world because there's no certainty, and everything is going up, inflation. So I think that it's encouraged to be able to provide at the highest level possible because anything can happen. So that's my thesis on it as far as that. Yeah, but also there's a thing of how much you make and how much you keep. So talk about that because that's important as far as just entry level setting this conversation for business owners to understand.
Man, listen, I think it was 2014. I made $250,000, $250,000. Now y'all can have that little six figures, little 100,000. I'm at $250,000. That's a bunch of money for somebody who was making 30,000 a year. And at the time, I'm single, so it's cool to brag about at parties and stuff. Like, come on, I'm an entrepreneur. I make about $250,000 a year. And I actually walked home with about 30,000. So I had a bunch of overhead. I was paying a lot of people, money slipping through the cracks. And I'm like, yo, I made 30,000 at the Cheesecake Factory. And now I'm making 30,000 as an entrepreneur coming home, but I'm managing a bunch and I still got to pay taxes on it. When at the Cheesecake Factory, at your job, they take the taxes out. So we really got to focus on not necessarily what we make or what we gross or what's cool for the gram, but how much we actually bring home. So I think that's an even more important conversation.
Yeah. So at the time, right, because obviously you're working at Cheesecake, what are the skills that you're trying to learn as an entrepreneur, right? Because sometimes we think like, I'll just create a business of something I like, and there really is no service, there really is no product. So at the time that you're doing it, what are the skills that are transferable from being in the 9 to 5 to say, all right, I can use that skill set to help me in this entrepreneurial journey. I'm going to learn here. I'm going to execute here. I'm going to implement here.
Oh, bruh, how to make a sale. So I figured out quickly that at the Cheesecake Factory, the more they buy, the more I make, because it's off a percentage system. So I needed to figure out how to get them to spend more money. And I realized if I go to the table and I say, my name is David. Welcome to the Cheesecake Factory. Fish of the day is salmon and mahi-mahi. Comes with broccoli and mashed potatoes. What can I get you to drink? If I ask the question of what can I get you to drink, if that first person orders water, the other 4 people at this party is going to order water. And it'll be variations of the water. I'll take mine with lemon. Can I get some lime? Can I have ice? No ice. But I realized that if I just suggested this strawberry lemonade, which is $5, in like $5 per drink, and you get refills. If that first person gets strawberry lemonade, the other 4 are going to get it too, meaning the check is at $25. And if I'm working off a 20% tip, I just made $5. So the question that I asked in the very beginning helped me make more money. These are the skill sets. And I think, man, this is an important conversation because people want to get off their job so bad, but they haven't figured out what they need to get from the job so that they can get off the job. There's so many skill sets, bro. Like to make a sale, or how do I manage my emotions when my manager is getting on my last nerves? Even though that person controls the sections that I get, how many hours I get, and I haven't learned how to manage my emotions. So I feel like it's okay to not like you because you're not going to fire me. And we have this distant relationship. But then I realized, I got to control that. Even if she doesn't like me, my manager, shouts out to April, she was cool, just not at the time, I didn't like her. But we had a mutual disrespect for each other, but it controlled my check. So I came in and said, I'm going to put this down. I'm just going to start being nice to this person who doesn't like me and I don't like her. And my sections got better. Anytime I needed off, I was able to get off. So I had to manage relationships. But I learned that at the Cheesecake Factory. So I don't know. Yo, somebody throw it in the chat, man. We need some engagement in the chat. If you can go through this exercise with me, 3 things you can learn from your job that once you master them, you could become a successful entrepreneur. Because I knew if I couldn't sell a $7 cheesecake or $5 lemonade, how am I going to sell a $25 t-shirt? So there were so many skills, bro. So many.
Yeah, it's one of these things. I say this all the time. Your 9 to 5 is your investor, right? Like I always look at the school district as my investor. What I chose to do from 5 to 12 would determine how long I'd have the 9 to 5. And so you gotta kind of have this plan in place. But a lot of times we get discouraged, right? Because we don't see people being successful around us. As you're at the cheesecake, are you managing relationships as the people are coming in to figure out, hey, I can pick your brain, get ideas to help you outside of this?
100%, bro. Y'all think I started interviewing like on a Social Proof podcast. I was interviewing my guests. If they came in, first off, if I met a black person with an American Express card, I got questions. I never experienced that growing up because I was told that black people have bad credit and we don't get that kind of stuff. So I'm shocked when a black person comes in and they have an American Express card. I'm like, hey, so what do you do? And I found out through those questions, like I've made some really, really good relationships. Some people that were barbers and they had their own barbershop. And I met this guy at this really big company called, it's a big moving company in Georgia. And I just got a chance to talk to them. I'm trying to understand their story. Like, how do you become successful? How do you make millions of dollars? So the interviewing started there. And I realized the earlier I start the interviews, the more money I make at the end because I got to build a relationship. I mean, I'm not just taking your order. Like, we need to have an experience. But this is directly tied to my check. So I met so many people, man. I met so many people. And the people that I thought weren't going to tip me, they actually tipped me. People I thought that had all this money and, oh, my gosh, they're super fancy. They not tipping me either. So I had to manage the emotions and know that I'm not going to be here for long anyway. So if I get the skills, I'm out soon. But yeah, that's where my interviewing started, actually.
So let's get into it. We got 1,000 on the YouTube. Let's hit the like button and share. Let's get this bad boy up to 2,000.
Oh.
But all right, let's get into the 3 Ps.
Yeah.
Fitting. Young Thug is home. Welcome home, Thugger. Push P. So there's 3 Ps in your philosophy, right?
Yeah.
Product, price.
Before I get there, Sha, I want to kind of talk about the math behind making this money. So when I was working at the Cheesecake Factory, I knew I wanted to make $100,000. I had to do the math, and I found out that if you make $8,333.33 every single month, then you can make $100,000. And then I realized I didn't even need to make the 100,000. So let's say we have $100K. Every month you have to make $8,333.34, right? That's for the month. But I only have to make $1,923 every week. I don't have to make $8,000. I could just make $1,900 every single week. And then this was the game changer for me, that if I made $274 a day, I can make $100,000. So 100,000 is a really big number for the year. A smaller number is $8,333. But if I've ever had a week that I made $1,900 in my business, I can make $100,000. If I've ever, listen, y'all, if you've ever made $274 in a day, all you have to do is do that 365 times. Or if you counting like work days, it's like $383 a day if you're going to take the weekends off. But we got to define the number, 100,000. All right, well, what if we want to make 250,000? Well, to make a $250,000 a year, we got to make $20,834 every single month. Well, it's a lot smaller number than 250,000. Or every single week, we got to make $4,807 every single week. I think making $4,800 is more doable than 250,000. Or for the day, if I just make $685 a day, I can make $250,000. Or if I'm going to make $750,000, I'm just going to make 2,000 and some change every single day. If I'm going to make 750,000, so we just got to, like, whatever your goal is. After we set the goal, let's just identify what the number is for us. So put it in the chat for 2025. What are we going to make in 2025? We can't just shoot out stuff like 6 figures and 7 figures and I'm going to be a millionaire and I'm going to be financially free, because that doesn't mean anything. Heck does financially free mean?
Well, then also, and I don't want to cut into your what you're going to do. So if I am, then just let me know. But so this is something that's very important for people that's in business, because it all comes down to sales. I know you're going to talk about sales, right? No matter what you're doing as an entrepreneur, you're selling something. If you're in a restaurant, you're selling food. If you are in clothing, you're selling clothes items, right? If you are a hairstylist, you're selling your services, which is you're doing people's hair, right? Everything is sales. Everything is sales in business. That's a key component. Now, I do think this is something that I learned, because I come from a sales background. When I was in insurance and financial services, I was commission based. So I made a living by selling products, and I got a commission from that product. So if you're in sales, you know that that's a difficult thing to do, because your income fluctuates, right? You have a good month, you have a terrible month, but if you don't sell something, you're not going to get paid. But it's important because it teaches you things that entrepreneurs need to learn. So I used to say my goal was to make $100,000 in a year, right? And I used to get frustrated because I wasn't hitting that goal. 24, 25 years old, I was not hitting that goal, right? And there's a book called The 12-Week Year, which I recommend everybody read, right? And when I really started to think about it differently, I changed the way I looked at the perspective. And you spoke about this before, where people, I think, go about it the wrong way by saying that how much money they want to make, right? So they have a goal of making $100,000 a year, right? And then you just broke it down. That's like $8,000 a month, $8,900 a month, something like that, right? And then so let's say that's like $2,200 a week, right? Something like that. So the goal is like, okay, I want to make $2,200 a week. The first mistake that they make is that they're saying that their goal is too big. Now, you just explained why you should break that goal down, because it's more attainable. $2,200 a week is more attainable than $100,000 a year. But I think that that's still where people go wrong, because they're chasing a number. What I realize is that you can't chase a number. You could chase the activity. Activity leads to the number. So in my case, right, when I was selling life insurance, right, you get a commission from the life insurance that you sell. So I can't control how much money I make just going off of numbers, because I might get a big policy and I make a lot of money, or I might get a small policy and I make a little bit of money, right? But what I realized is that I did the average of what my average case size was. So let's say my average case size was $1,000 commission, right? Then I realized, what am I doing to actually get a client? So there's a few ways how you can get clients. You can cold call, you can canvas. Canvas is like go to different businesses and just pop up. Here's my business card, talk. I wasn't good at cold calling and I wasn't good at canvassing, but I was good at getting referrals. That was my pipeline to get business. I was good at getting referrals. Then I realized that in my system, for every 3 people that I contacted, 1 person I would close, right? So I realized that the numbers worked in my favor based on activity, not just a number. So what I'm saying is that I realized that in order for me to hit the financial goal, it was based on activity. I needed to get, let's say, 10 referrals every week. Every week I needed to get, let's say, 15 referrals. I needed to get 15 referrals every single week, because I knew if I got 15 referrals, then I would close 5 people. If I closed 5 people, that's $5,000. Yeah. But that's still not good enough, because it's like, well, how are you going to get 15 referrals? So then I have to have a system in place. How am I actually even meeting people? I had a few ways to meet people. I would go to like events and I would try to meet people from there. I would call existing clients, right? I would have my circle of influence. So you put together a project 100 of people that you know. You take them out to lunch. So now I'm breaking it down. I'm saying, okay, I need to get my goal in this situation is to get 15 referrals. But in order for me to get 15 referrals, I have to reach out to 100 people, right?
Mhm.
So now the 100 people, I have to get in contact with 100 people every single week for me to hit my goal. Now I break that down. Let's say I'm working 5 days, Monday through Friday. I have to get in front of 20 people, right? I don't physically have to get in front of 20 people, but I got to talk to 20 people. So now I have Tuesday through Wednesday, I'm just calling. That's my call days. So in that day, I'm gonna talk to 40 people on the calls. You could talk to 40 people in 3 days. That's very realistic, right? Thursday is carved out for in person. I'm gonna go to like 2 different networking events if I can. In New York, I'm gonna go anywhere, Chamber of Commerce, because I gotta meet people on that. And then Friday was my coffee day, where I'm getting in front of old clients, new clients, people that I just went to college with. So what I'm saying is that idea of just making the money wasn't working out for me. But when I realized that the money was a byproduct of the action and the activity, see, I can control the activity. I can't control the outcome, right? I can't control if I'm going to sell you what you're going to buy, but I know if I do enough activity, the odds are in my favor to reach that goal. Now it's like, how much money do I want to make? Because now if I double my activity, I'm going to double my income. It's just a mathematical game at that point. Right now, with doubling the activity comes with me working twice as many hours. So now you have to say, okay, well, is it worth me? Or you can say, how can I do this more efficiently? Can I work with another partner, right, where he can canvas and then we split 50-50? But your volume of activity dictates your volume of income. That's something that I think is vitally important. You have to track this too. So the 12-week year, the reason why the book is called 12-week year is because they break the year down into 12 weeks, right? So it's much easier to look at it from that standpoint as opposed to just canvassing the whole thing. And then we had systems in place. So every Sunday I track my activity. So you can't just leave it up to hope. You have to take hope and guessing work out of this, right? So it's an activity that I'm tracking. So I'm tracking by hand at that time. I got 1 referral. I closed 1 app. I did this. So I got a whole list. And every Sunday I'm looking at it. If I fell short on one of these 3 things, I'm like, okay, this week I got to make up for it. Or why did I fall short this week? You can't let more than a week go by with you having bad habits and not being disciplined to actually meeting that quota. You got to meet that quota, and you have to be diligent and answer to yourself. If you don't have an accountability partner, which is good, but if you don't have an accountability partner, you got to be your own accountability partner. So that book is a very good read because it teaches you how to be extremely disciplined. And like I said, I'm using the example of the life insurance, but you can use that example for anything, right? Any form of business is sales, but never worry about the money, worry about the activity, and the activity will get you to the actual money.
Yeah.
Sorry to kind of go right there, but I
no, that's good.
Yeah.
No, that's strong. And I would 100% agree with you. It's just different people have different motivations. So it's like some people, the activity, like if you're going to be a content creator, when you do enough activity, something happens. But some people need a target. So some people are all right, I want to make 10 sales today. And no, you can't. You can't control someone taking money out of their pocket and giving it to you. But without the goal of the 10, when you're at 8, if you did the activity, you're like, all right, well, I did my activity for the day, which is going to yield some fruit. But some people need that. Yo, I'm gonna work a little bit extra because there's a specific goal that I have to hit. But like you said, everybody has their different driving motivation. Like for me, I need a target. And obviously the more you do your activity, the activity starts to a ratio shows up. So if I make 10 calls, I'll close 3 of them. If I continue to do that, I'll make 5,000. Well, if my goal is to make 20,000, I know I just got to 4x my activity. So you're 100% on point. I hope everybody's taking notes, because you can't even start this conversation until you get active and you start to see what your ratio looks like and how you can improve it. But you will get to a point where if you have enough activity, you can start to predict your income. Like in this webinar space, you talk to somebody that's like really dialed into the webinar, they know exactly how much money they need to spend. They know exactly how many people need to show up to this webinar. And they know by the 90-minute mark how many people need to be on. And they can predict within a percent of how many people are going to buy. They got that joint dialed in. But we have to start somewhere, like Rashad is saying. Y'all have to start somewhere. Get a product. And I think that leads into the next point, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Okay, so now we're going to go into the 3 Ps. The first, and this is for any business, these are essential, like the core elements of being successful as an entrepreneur. So the first thing is a product. You got to sell something, right? So talk about product.
Yo, listen, I need y'all to share this out. Y'all got 3 people on here that's giving y'all game. I need y'all to share this out with 3 people in your phone right now that are going to hit major goals in 2025. Share this out with 3 people. This is probably the most important conversation most of you are going to have for the rest of the year. So in comment done after it's done, share it out with 3 people that you love. So the product, we have to find something to sell. And the best place to start is a product or service. And let me talk to my content creators out here that are thinking you're going to be an entrepreneur and you're just going to create content. You're going to create content until something works out. And I'm not mad at that. But as you're creating content, I'm asking you, begging you, pleading with you to get some sort of product in your hand. So if you're going to run a podcast of financial literacy, have a financial literacy book or a planner or a motivational hat line or have some sort of product or a service that you can sell. So a product is something that allows the transfer of ownership either temporarily or permanently for a fee. And I came up with that definition myself, so you're not going to find it on Google. A product is something that allows the transfer of ownership either temporarily or permanently for a fee. What can you give to someone that they be willing to pay you for? And I think it's important to start out selling something that's easy to produce, easy to deliver, and easy for people to pay you. Come up with some sort of product or service. Let me ask y'all too, Rashad and Troy. Let's say, for instance, you were still working at the high school or you were at some sort of job, and you were going to come up with a product today, in the current climate that we're in right now. Are y'all going to do product or service? What you think, and what would it be?
So this isn't hypothetical for me. I come from a service background. That's where I come from. So I was an entrepreneur on the service side. I wasn't an entrepreneur on the product side, but I looked at my service as the product though. So I was an entrepreneur on the service side, and I feel like you can be a service-based provider, but launch products off of that, which I'll talk about after. I want to hear you finish what you got to say, but I come from the service side. I don't come from the product side. I come from the service. So I had to learn product. I had to learn that aspect. I didn't have to learn the sales, closing, service. That's my wheelhouse. The product thing came later online from learning from different people. But that's my personal thing. Answer to that question.
Yeah, I would go service too. I would say service, just based on my skill set, being in front of people, working with people, having to educate. There's a service that I'm providing every single day in school. Most teachers don't look at themselves, or educators don't look at themselves but you're providing a service, probably the most important service if you think about what the actual task is. And so it would definitely be in service. And again, the service would actually be the product.
But what would give me some real examples of a service? Would you start a tutoring service? Would you start what would the service be?
Yeah, so I actually was doing this. I was actually a tutor, right? And so I was trying to create multiple streams, right? I'm figuring out 6 figures that we hear growing up. And I'm like, well, we get to the six figures as an educator. I'm like, well, now we got to figure out how to make more. So it was being a tutor. It was creating athletic programs. And so I was a coach. I had a fitness club. And then on the weekends, I would do things as well to just around education, right? So I'm trying to figure out how many skills can I provide based on what I'm doing now. And so if education was a thing, here are the things that I can do to make money from it and provide a service.
Love it. Sean, what would your service be if you had to start today? It's before EYL, or in this current climate right now. What would the service be?
Well,
or give me some ideas.
I mean, like I said, I mean, I don't like to do too much hypothetical. I like to actually say like what we did, right? So my service was financial services because there's always going to be a need for people. Financial services is always a need for that, right? And then we realized that we're in a day and age now with social media that media has taken a different fold. So switched from financial services to media. That's really what happened in real life.
Mm-hmm.
So I could only say what we did because that's what I would do again, right? Because it worked. So I would do the same pathway as far as Earn Your Leisure, media side, subscription-based service with EYL University, which leads to events, which leads to money that you can make from YouTube, podcasts, and stuff like that. But I don't want to tell somebody to do that because that's not something that everybody's passionate about. Everybody's not going to be successful, but that's a realistic blueprint that we followed that has worked.
Yeah, it never stops. Yeah, that's why I said both of them are the core of it is educating and providing a service to people. And so we're in the people service business.
For sure. If I had to start over again in this particular climate, I don't know if I would do this. I started with T-shirts, right? A T-shirt company, and it wasn't as accessible. There wasn't like drop shipping at that time. Everyone didn't have their own T-shirt brand. So it's still kind of impressive that, oh, you got your own clothing brand? Oh, they got the neck label? Wow. Like people are impressed, right? So if I had to start with some sort of product for me today, and I just want to shoot out some stuff because some people are having a brain block of like what I could do. I would probably go into something with helping students with a book or some sort of way to teach kids in an engaging way. Because after COVID, when people went home, getting kids back to lock in and pay attention, that really had an effect on our educational system and our kids. So if I was going to do a service, I would pick up a camera and I would be a videographer or a content creator, a photographer, something like that. The moral of the story is whatever your product or service is going to be, it shouldn't be a cool product or service. You should look at it as solving a problem, not just a good idea. So the question is not what should I sell or what should I offer as a product or service? It's what problem can I solve and what's the most effective way to solve it? So I don't know if I'd have started out interviewing entrepreneurs today as my main way of growing, because y'all know back when we started, who else was doing that? Nobody. Like, I don't want to say nobody, but I don't know of anybody that was interviewing people that weren't celebrities or, high profile people that was just your neighborhood heroes. I just don't know anybody. So you need to, one, find a problem to solve, and two, find an area that that you can be excited about. So a product is something, again, I'm gonna throw this out there, and neither one of them is bad, but I want you to pick your poison. A product is something that allows you to transfer ownership, either temporarily or permanently, for a fee. A service is more non-tangible value. Non-tangible. A service might be a trainer. I can't package up a train. I can't package up muscles. But my service is non-tangible, but I can get you that result. But I'm only getting you the result because that's a problem that you have. So come up with a product or service that solves a problem. That's not just a good idea. That's something that you're already passionate about, that you love, that you're interested in. And you have to look at it and say, this is something that I would buy if I was the person dealing with this issue.
Dave, I got something for you, and shout out to Phil, you boy. He said he's planning on quitting his job next summer, trusting the
Let's
process.
go.
Yeah, like I know you're big on targets, and so I remember obviously the first time we met was at Cheesecake Factory. You took us out to lunch, but then you went up to the kiosk. What was the target that you were looking at to say, all right, if I do this, right, if I hit this number, I'm gonna go into full-time media mogul that you are now. And I'm going to leave the kiosk behind, because I know even that transition, I get that asked that a lot. How did you know it was time for you to leave the school district, or when did you know? Was it an amount of money? Was there a target that you had? We never really had this conversation, but I'm interested now that, as you said, the target thing. I'm like, well, what was the target for you?
Yeah. So I set a quit number. I didn't quit off of emotion. I didn't quit because I ain't like my job. I didn't quit because I'm better than this, or I'm worth more than that, or somebody was talking crazy to me. I didn't do none of that off emotion. I set a quit number. I said, if I make this amount of money every month for 3 or 4 months in a row, I will quit my job. So let's say the number is $5,000. And I say, well, if I make $5,000 4 months in a row, I will quit my job. Now I've been doing it for a while, but I'm 2,000 here, 1,000. I've been doing it for 2 years at this point. But I said, you know what? It's about that time I start betting on myself. But if I make $5,000 a month consistently in my business, not total, in my business, I will quit my job. But here's the caveat. You can't skip what you say you're going to do. It's not 4,000. If I made $5,000 in January and $6,000 in February and $3,000 in March, that means I have to start all over again. Can I hit this number consistently for 4 months? Because now I know I got a formula. Now it's not like I just had a good season. So I set a quit number. Once I hit that number that I predetermined that I was going to hit, that's when I quit my job, because that says I can do it. And I promise you, y'all, if you set a target and you can't hit your target while you have your job, and you think once you quit your job, you're just going to have all the time in the world and it's just going to get better, you got to take you with you. Your habits are your habits. If you can't, and this isn't every scenario, but for me, I knew I could do it with my job. But if I say I'm going to do it with my job and I don't, quitting my job isn't going to help me, because I'm not the type of person that can do what I say I'm going to do and stick to the path. So that's how I quit my job. That's my story.
But then also, I think that, all right, so for people, because this is vitally important, like even for they have to have a realistic idea of what, like a roadmap to map out, right? So for me, if I was giving advice on this, when you start a business, you start with the MVP, right? And that's something that you can get up and running today. So I always use the restaurant because that's a business that people can relate to, right? A lot of people are passionate about cooking. They're good cooks, at least in their minds. And that's something that people want to start, right? It's a very difficult business to be successful. It's very difficult to be a restaurateur to be successful for a variety of different reasons. But one of the main reasons why it's difficult to be a restaurant owner is that restaurant business really is like a good microcosm of why businesses fail, because it's high capital that you have to put out, right? Like when you open a restaurant, you have to get a retail space, right? You got to pay first and last month rent. You got to pay rent every single month. You got to bring industrial machines in to actually, cook. You got to make sure that you have it sanitized, clean properly. You got to have chefs that come in and cook it. Or if you're going to be the chef, then you got to cook and run the business. You got to have somebody that is knowledgeable as far as how to buy the food, get the food, source it, a waiter, waitress. You got to have electricity. You got to put TVs in the restaurant. You got to paint. There's a lot of money that you spend as a restaurant owner. The problem is that the amount of money that comes in usually is up and down. It fluctuates, right? Because nobody goes to that same restaurant every single day, right? I might love that restaurant and I might go there 6 times a year. My favorite restaurant I might go to 6 times a year. that's not a sustainable business model if you don't live in a place that has high foot traffic, right? So what ends up happening is like, and this is a good microcosm for all businesses because this is why a lot of businesses fail. Your expenses stay the same or they go up, but your income fluctuates. So now if your expenses are $10,000 a month, but 1 month you're making 15, then for 2 months you're making 7, and then you make 2,000, then that's not sustainable, right? Before you know it, you've run out of your savings and you got to close the doors because you don't have enough money to actually run the business, right? So if I was getting into the restaurant business, I would start with the MVP. And I would start with something that's workable today without a high cost. Even though this is a business that is a brick and mortar business, I would start with a ghost kitchen, right? So if people aren't familiar with ghost kitchens they became very popular during COVID, where you have cities like New York, Boston, high traffic cities, right? And people started to really order Uber Eats a lot. Now, the thing about Uber Eats is that unless you really know the restaurant that you're ordering from, there's two ways that you order Uber Eats. You order from a restaurant that you know and you patronize, or you're just hungry and you want Indian food and you just look to see what Indian food is available on Uber Eats, right? That happens all the time. You don't necessarily know where that Indian food is coming from. You just look, it looks good, it has a nice menu, whatever. Now, with the ghost kitchen, you can get an industrial kit. You can rent industrial kitchen space, right? Mm-hmm. And you have a restaurant. They come, they expect it, they make sure that it's clean, but it's not an actual restaurant. It's just a kitchen that you're cooking out of. But that's not important because now the cost of you renting that is a lot cheaper than you actually renting a restaurant, right? And you're making the food yourself, but what you're doing is that now you're developing. I know you talk about promotion. You promote it on social media. You're developing a following at a low cost. We had a great episode years ago with Nacho Bang, and shout out to him. But this is a way to kind of get up and running, building notoriety, building a name, and most importantly, making money in real time before you actually go and open a restaurant, right? Now, the next part about this is vitally important. So they always say you need 7 streams of income to become a millionaire, right? Now, this is frustrating for most people because they look at it like you need 7 jobs, or if you're a business owner, you need 7 different businesses. This is another reason why businesses fail, because they don't have multiple streams of income from their own one business. So most of the time, so let's say you made it past the ghost kitchen phase and you opened up a restaurant. Now, most people, and this, like I said, this can be applied to any business. It's just a restaurant is an easy business to give an explanation to. So most people think that when you think of a restaurant, you're thinking that you're going to make money from people coming into your restaurant and buying food. That's easy, right? But like I said, there's problems with that because if there's COVID, if there's anything like that's not a sustainable business model because you only have one stream of income, right? Now, you don't have to have 7 different crazy ideas. You have to have 7 streams of income off of that one business. So as a restaurant owner, you can sell food. That's the obvious way. But you can also do what I just said, Uber Eats, delivery. Everybody does that, right? That's another stream of income for people that I order Uber Eats more than I actually go to the restaurant. So now you're actually working on 2 streams of income, right? But that's still pretty understandable. But we live in a society where a lot of people can't cook, right? Well, that's an opportunity. So maybe on a Saturday morning or an off day, whatever, now you have cooking classes, right? Now you offer an in-person experience. You can make it every week or you can make it a group thing, but you actually are teaching people. Now you're actually a teacher, right? So that's another stream of income because now people are actually coming in and they're paying to learn how to cook Thai food, or they're paying how to learn how to cook Jamaican. You can make it date night. You can a variety of different things, right? But now you're already teaching people how to cook. So now you've become a teacher. So now you can reach an even larger audience on what we're currently on right now, which is called YouTube, right? Mm-hmm. So now you have a cooking podcast because there's millions of people that will be interested in learning how to cook, but they might not live where you live, right? So now you actually are a content creator. You never looked at yourself as a content creator, but now you're a content creator because you're offering a product. And if you get enough streams, then you can actually make money from YouTube, right? And then if you can do it from an audio perspective, then you can actually put that same content on audio and repurpose it, and now people can listen to it as a podcast. And now you're actually a podcaster, right? But when you're actually cooking in front of a camera, you have to wear something. So now you can actually wear aprons that you actually make, or chef's hat or whatever, and you put some, like we had Assets Over Liability. That's a slogan that we've done. We're in front of a camera, so we wear our merch and people buy it. You have your merch on and people buy it, right? So you come up with some cool idea, and now you're selling merch off of it as well, right? And the restaurant business is so difficult to be successful in. That's a good thing, because now if you are successful, then you become an authority in the space. So there's no school a lot of times to actually learn a lot of this stuff. It's culinary school, but it's not a school to learn how to become a restaurateur. You got to learn as you go. Most of the time, that's why second and third generation, a lot of restaurant owners that are successful are second and third generation, because they've been taught from their parents. So if you pay me, I'm going to save you the headaches, because you're going to fast track your learning experience. Everything that I went through, in order for me to survive it, I have to learn these things, right? So now you pay me, that's going to be a higher ticket item than somebody coming in just learning from cooking classes, right? And then you can also sell items, like you can sell spice that you can actually put online, right? Like let's say you really make a jerk chicken. Now there's a thing called jerk chicken sauce that you put on jerk chicken, right? And then once you build a following, now you can actually label that jerk chicken sauce and put it on YouTube and sell it. And then if you really get up and running, then you can potentially have it in supermarkets. But I wanted to say that because that's 7 streams of income that I just named. None of those streams take you away from your business, right? That's still within your will. I didn't tell you to buy a truck. I didn't tell you to, do anything crazy, right? These are all things but most of the time as an entrepreneur, you're not thinking about that. It's going to be difficult to have one stream of income, because what happens is that one stream dries up. It happens all the time. If you only rely on YouTube and your YouTube channel gets shut down, then you're screwed, right? So you have to have different things to go about it. And even from a service standpoint, like that was my original goal. Even when I was a financial advisor, I'm like, all right, I'm doing the financial advising thing. And I just explained how I get paid from that. I got paid through commission. That's most people, that's where it starts and that's where it finishes for most financial advisors. But it's like, okay, well, I'm not giving you a hypothetical, I'm giving you a real world. So when we started to teach, part of that story is that I actually put together a proposal. And at that time, President Obama put together a program called My Brother's Keeper, where they was actually giving money to school districts. So I looked at that as an opportunity where I'm like, okay, well, I can package this up and actually present it to the school and get paid to teach kids financial literacy, because what I realized is that schools have hundreds of millions of dollars of budgets, right? Mm-hmm. So I remember, I'll never forget, I put together that proposal, and it was I think I went to the principal of the school and I asked for $1,000 an hour. And he was like, I'll never forget. He said, teachers get paid $50 an hour. I said, what did I say?
You're asking?
I'm asking Dave. What do you think I said?
Oh, well, I mean, I solve a bigger problem, or I'm not a teacher.
I'm not a teacher.
Yeah.
Gave me $1,000 an hour. So,
wow. I like that.
No, but
not him, but the program did.
The program.
Yeah.
But this is a true story.
Yeah.
But then from there, I started to. I actually work. I taught a class in a group home as well. Taught a class in a group. So I was daylighting as a quasi teacher, for about 18 months, right? But it was all because I'm teaching what I'm learning. I'm teaching what I already know in financial advising. So I never got to actually get paid to really be a speaker, but that was always my goal, was to build a following. And then I wanted to speak about financial literacy, but that's another way that you can actually make money. Then of course, if you speak, and then you gotta write a book. I forgot the cooking book too, for the entrepreneur, for the restaurant. You got to write a cooking book if you're a restaurateur, but the book aspect of it, right? And then it's like, once again, consulting, because financial planning is a hard business. So if you become an expert in the field, now there's other financial advisors that actually need to be coached. They need to learn these things, right? And then the school aspect, the manual labor thing is actually teaching. What's more efficient is actually writing a curriculum, because that doesn't require you actually being there, right? But so that's on the service side, though. So one is on the product side, what I just mentioned before, as far as a restaurateur, you're selling a product. The other one is on the service side, but you see it's the same idea, it's the same principles, right? You have to strategically find multiple streams of income off of the tree. It's like a tree. You got to have different branches off that tree. If you don't, that's going to be difficult to be successful as an entrepreneur. If you do, it's going to be difficult not to be successful.
100%. I hope y'all are taking notes, man, because this is an absolute masterclass, man. And some things, like one of the ways to scale a business is raising the average order value. And sometimes not even about like, how do I do something different? It's like, how can I raise the average order value? So I'm working with a restaurant out here, Uncle Phil's, best cheesesteaks in the world. And they're just selling cheesesteaks. And I'm like, yo, we need to at least offer it as a dessert. If I buy a cheesesteak and it's $15, I'm typically going to get a cheesesteak and fries and a drink maybe. But if there's like the positioning of a dessert, I'm the type of person, if I see it, I'm like, oh, throw it in the bag. I don't know how many of y'all are to throw it in the bags. When you go to Walmart, you get whatever you need, but you got to get that little chapstick that's right in the front. You don't need the Reese's, but it's right there. They're raising the average order value. I was going to spend 15, but now I'm going to spend 21. So thinking as an entrepreneur, especially this for like my entrepreneurs that are already in business, like Rashad said, and maybe you don't have to pop off with 6 more right now, but what can we add right now that will at least give the person the option? They were going to pay a certain amount, but now they're just going to pay a little bit more. That's how you scale your business. That's it. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that. I mean, that brings it to another key point. I know that's one of the things you want to talk about is the actual pricing of it. A lot of times we feel like, hey, we're charging too much, or we shouldn't charge anything for the services that we provide. So as an entrepreneur that's just beginning, right? They just figure out what the product is. They find out what the MVP is, right? How do they get to a point where it's like, I know what the market says I should charge versus what I'm actually going to charge for my service or product?
Well, it kind of depends, but the price, and I want everybody to really, really pay attention. The price has to be way lower than the value. The price that you charge has to be way lower than the value. You cannot sell something.
Explain that, because that's what most people probably wouldn't expect you to say that.
I got you. You don't pay $20 for something that's just worth $20. Like if I don't know how much a haircut is, but the reason I'm paying $100 for a haircut or $50 for a haircut, depending on where you live, is because I believe that this haircut is worth way more than the $50 that I'm giving this person. And I'll prove it to you. Let's say, for instance, your normal haircut is $50. Well, you're saying, well, I'm not paying a dime over $50 because I'll go somewhere else and get a haircut for $50. But you pay the money not because it's worth $50, and here's why. If you are about to go on a date, or it's your wedding day, or some important day, and the barber that normally charges $50 to cut your hair says, yo, you didn't make an appointment and I would have to travel. I can't get to you right now. You're like, yo, please, I need this haircut. And your barber says, all right, cool. The haircut's going to be $250. You're like, whoa, I don't pay $250 for a haircut. It's not worth it. But my question is, if this is your wedding day, are you going to pay the $250? And the answer is absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the haircut isn't worth, the haircut value is worth more than the money you're paying. So we don't pay. I'm just saying, whatever that transformation is, like if we're talking about EYL University, the value is way more than the amount of money. So, or like the perceived value, because although it can help you make $1 million, $100,000, if you price it at 50,000, there's going to be some hesitation. But what is it now? Is it $1,000 a year?
1,000 for the day before it runs up. Well, yeah, 1,000 for the year.
For the year.
1,000 for the year.
$1,000 to learn how to make a few 100,000. Now, which one's higher, the value or the price?
But how do you shout out to Ian in the chat? This is something that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with as far as when they price their products, they don't feel confident that people will actually buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So they price themselves too low.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Too low.
Yeah.
And then it's hard to go. It's easy to go down in price. It's hard to go up in price, right? So how do you what's your thought process for that?
It's actually detrimental to go down in price. Because the people that pay more, like it's hard. It's hard to come down in price. And we're looking at it in the economy. When everything was inflated, when it cost more for the product to get from wherever it was to here, gas, like employees are costing more at that time because can't nobody get to work. The prices skyrocketed. But when things got back to normal, did the prices come down? You know what I mean? The barber's not saying like, barbers are never going back to $20 haircuts. It's over with. So my point is, in answering your question, the value has to be more than the price, and you get to determine the value. And sometimes the value is based on your belief of, like I said earlier, the problem that you're solving. We're thinking about the price because you don't believe that you're solving a real problem. If we're in the desert and you're the only person with water, you're not going to be nervous to charge $10 a bottle. You wouldn't be nervous. You know, ain't no other water nowhere. And I'm solving your problem. And I know you're going to pay for it. So it's a confidence issue, which goes back to what we talked about earlier. Some of the skill sets that you get from your job. I learned confidence in asking someone to buy a cheesecake. While I was working there, I said, I'm having a hard time selling, but I realized the more I sell, the more money I make. So I had to tell myself, you have to tell me no twice. This is like a confidence building thing because I'm not going to push you on my own, but my rule says, would you like to buy cheesecake, a slice of cheesecake to go? They say no. I'm saying, hey, come on, man, come look at the menu. Just, would you like to get a slice of cheesecake? One, you wouldn't believe how many times people converted on that second ask. But two, it started to build my confidence. But once you understand that you have something that solves a real problem, you have no problem charging whatever you're going to charge for it. But here's how we raise value. One, you can start off by whatever price makes you comfortable. But the only reason you're doing that is to gather testimonials, because if you change 20 people's lives with this product, you'd be more confident charging a little more. Two, you need to learn how to be a better storyteller. Storytelling will raise the value of your product or service. This is what I mean. This young lady, we're doing this morning meetup, and I'm trying to teach this principle of your story creates the value. And she said, well, my company is, I do like house cleaning. I'm like a maid service. And I said, do you have any employees? She said, no, I just do it myself. And she said, well, I don't see how this is a need. This is a luxury, actually. And I said, we got to change the way you look at the thing that you offer because it solves a real problem. And I asked her if she's married. She said, yes. And I said, have you ever had any issues in your household where the root of this argument was caused by dishes not being in the sink? Your husband comes home, puts his shoes in the living room, then goes upstairs and doesn't take the shoes with him. That kind of stuff causes an argument. And we find ourselves bickering back and forth with our spouse because someone didn't take the clothes out the dryer. If you are effectively cleaning someone's house, you are saving a marriage. I know for me, it's really hard for me to get in my mental zone when my office is a mess. And when I'm in my zone, I execute. I get to this money when I'm in my zone. But if I got to focus on where's my I can't find my stuff, it's not organized, the value of a house cleaner or an office cleaner or an organizer, if they can tell the story and show me how cleaning my office makes me more money, I'm more willing to buy. So we have to become more confident, and we got to be a better storyteller, because that's how we start to raise our own confidence and value.
How about the reoccurring customer, right? Like, how are we building the model? We don't want to, obviously, and that was a great example when you're talking about you go to your favorite restaurant, you might visit that 4 times in a year, right? In your business, obviously, with doing the t-shirts and now in the media space, what is the best strategy, right? If I'm starting as an entrepreneur, is it not obviously not the one-offs, but is it the monthly subscription? Is it the yearly subscription? Is it even a weekly subscription? Like, what model should I be looking at based on my product?
Again, I think it's what you're most comfortable with. It's not like one particular way. That's why when we're teaching entrepreneurship, we give them all of them. It's not just services, not just products. We need to pick one. There's 3 ways to scale a company or scale a business. One, I talked about it earlier, is, one, I'll start with customer acquisition. We need to get more customers to scale a business. That's one way of scaling a business. The second way of scaling a business is raising the average order value, meaning the amount of money that someone pays me when they come to pay me. You can either pay me $15 for a cheesesteak, or you have the option of getting a piece of pie too, and raise it to $21. You can scale a business that way. Or you can scale a business by getting the same customer to order more often. So I'm gonna go through just rabbit hole stuff. Y'all can just stop me. Your product could be something that people use, or it could be something that you use up. Something that you use is a couch. There are people that make millions from selling couches. Something that you use is a car. You use a refrigerator. Is a refrigerator a bad model because most people are only going to buy one every 10 years? It's not a bad model. They just got to get into customer acquisition. But you also have things that you use up, like toothpaste or body gel, deodorant, oils. These are things that you use up. Well, there are different, like even now today, there are certain customers, there are certain companies that make millions of dollars a year in this one Halloween time. They're closed the rest of the year, but they put everything into this model. So I don't have a suggestion. I will get into like the pricing model, because I'll go through that right now. But there's no one way to skin a cat. That's why I'm very careful with telling people what they should be doing, because there's a whole bunch of ways to do it. And the way I did it may not be the way you do it. You may want to sell houses. Well, let me get through some numbers. Let me get into some numbers if I can. Let's do that while we're on pricing. Here we go. Hey man, if y'all with us, just say I'm with y'all. Just throw it in the chat. I need to know that we're not just talking to the wall. I need to know that y'all locked in and y'all not just out here like watching TV on Instagram and kind of listening to this, because this can really, really change your life. So coming up with a good product or a price. Let's just start with $100,000. Well, you could take one product, take the whole year to sell one product that nets you $100,000. Maybe you are you're a real estate agent and you're not trying to sell $20,000 houses. You're not trying to sell $100,000 houses where you make $3,000. You are trying to make you're trying to like sell multi-million-dollar houses, let's say. Well, you could spend the whole year selling one house, netting $100,000, and you'll make $100,000. Or you could spend a whole year selling 10 products at $10,000 a piece. And guess what? You still make $100,000. What if you could sell a little over one a month of a $10,000 product? Can we think of something that costs $10,000? Now, I think this is very extremely scammy, but I met this kid, actually. He was about 17 years old when I met him. He was working at Chick-fil-A, and he'd just come around, be around often. And then he got mixed up with these like digital entrepreneurs. And he told me, like, yo, bro, I'm about to start doing consulting. I said, bro, you work at Chick-fil-A. Who are you consulting? Not knocking his dream, but he said, I do content creation. I'm really good at it. And I'm about to start teaching people how to scale their business through content creation. I said, bro, one, you don't know how to scale a business through content creation. You work at Chick-fil-A. True story. No lie. Yo, talk to Brandon, shot me. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. But my man comes to the office one day and he says, yo, I'm about to sell this 10K program. And I said, bro, no disrespect, but you probably make $10,000 a year at your job. He said, but I'm about to change all that. This is not me hating on this brother. I just knew he didn't know what he was talking about. The moral of the story is he goes through this process and he comes to the studio a few weeks later and he says, yo, I closed my first 10K client. I told you I was going to close my first 10K client. And I said, congratulations, because I was wrong. Now, about 30 days later, they actually disputed the charge because they realized he didn't know what he was talking about. But my point is, he had a service for $10,000 while he worked at Chick-fil-A, and he closed somebody. He didn't do it in a less than integral way. He believed in his product, told it was $10,000. My point is, there are services or even products that you can make a 10K commission on. You sell 10 of them a year, you made $100,000. Or we can sell 100 products at $1,000 a piece and still make $100,000. Throw it in the chat. Can you think of a product that someone would pay $1,000 that's worth more than $1,000? Of course we can. We can come up with $1,000 product. Nipsey Hussle had the audacity to sell a $100 mixtape, was it?
Yeah, 100.
Who does he think he is? Well, it is at the point where, at this time, you could either download mixtapes or every mixtape is $10. But my man believed in it. He said, I'll sell 100 mixtapes and I'll sell $100 mixtapes because I placed this value on it. But if you can come up with $1,000 product, you sell 100 of them for the year, you're good. Or we find 1,000 customers to give us $100. Only make $100K. I'm going through this process for a reason, because you can find 10,000 people with a low ticket $10 product and still make $100,000. My question for the chat today is, which one of these is most comfortable for you? Which one of these is most comfortable for you? You might look at the one and say, yo, I would rather just find 100 people, $1,000 product. I'm going to make my 100K that way. Or I feel most comfortable, man, I can get anybody give me $10 and we just run it up. $10, 10,000 customers throughout a year, I can do that. No problem. A little over 1,000 customers every single month, I'm cool. I can do that. My question is, which one of these is most comfortable for you? Let me give you another one. Something else to think about. We can also talk about recurring. Let's say we're going 100K. Let's say we'll do 250K and we'll do 750K. Well, we can have, and y'all, if it's too much and it's too confusing, because I know some people, when it comes to math, their head starts hurting. But I'm telling you, if you're going to make some money, you better get comfortable with math. Success is just a math equation. Shai told y'all, if you do a certain amount of work, you'll start to get some sort of ratio. I talked to 10 people. I closed 2. If I want to close 20, I got to talk to 100. It's the math of it all. Okay? If you have a $50 recurring, let me actually make it smaller. Let me just erase this. We can go into the recurring model that Troy talked about. And maybe to make 100K, we need 167 people paying $50 recurring every single month. Or I can have a $100 recurring product and I just have to sell 83 of them to make $100,000. Well, what if we're going to make $250,000? The only reason I'm going through this exercise, y'all, and again, I know math hurts the head of a lot of people. I get it. But just pick which one stands out to you. Whatever seems easiest. All I got to find is 160 people to give me $50 a month, where the value is much more, and I can make 100,000. That's the one I'm doing.
But then
Or
also, Dave, I think it's important to note retention as well, right? Because
100%.
even I learned this in insurance as well, where the premiums are cheaper. The cheapest premium is annual. The second cheapest premium is semi-annual, every 6 months. The third lowest premium is quarterly. The highest premium is monthly. The reason being is because they wanted to discourage people from doing monthly, because monthly is the highest turnover, right? So that's important for entrepreneurs to keep in mind, that recurring revenue is it can be a good business model, but you have to you might have to increase your price for that to count the amount of people that's actually going to fall off after 2 months, after 3 months. Or you might have to have a recurring revenue model on a yearly basis, which might be more beneficial than a monthly basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't go like into the retention, because some people because they're trying to wrap their mind around the fact that I can make some money.
No, I get you. For sure. But I think it's just important for people to kind of know, because like I said, they don't know that. You don't know that until you know it, right? So it's like you put all your eggs into building a recurring revenue business, and then you realize that people falling off left and right, and it's like it's discouraging.
It's important to the point that you made earlier, Dave, especially if I'm making that target that I want to do something consecutively for 4 months. Well, let's say you do it for 3 months in that retention, and you have a monthly reoccurring, and in that 4th month, you lost half of your customers, right? Yeah. Like that could be a drastic change in business. So it's very important to know that.
Yeah, but it also depends on the value that you provide, because some people, like for your $1,000 a year, believe it or not, and I'm sure y'all know that some people log in a couple of times, but they don't want to lose it because they understand the value. So in every business, you got these pros and you got these cons of there are some people that maybe they would have paid me for a month, right, for a service, but on that 31st day, the payment hit again, and they're like, oh crap, I got to use the service again. So I know that the average customer is going to stay on a recurring program for about 3 months, average. So our program is $97 a month, but we made it $500 for the year. Well, why would I make it $500 a year if it's $97 a month? If the average person stays for 3 months, you're either going to give me $300, or in the moment where you're like, yo, I want to lock in, well, you might as well just pay 5 months up front. Let me just get a $500, and we'll recur. And it helps you predict, because typically, unless you're doing something where you're not adding extreme value, typically they all don't fall off at the same time. But you still have to keep it working. You got to keep it running. So,
well, the most important aspect, are you still going with because I want to talk about promotion. That's probably the most important thing.
Okay. Let me finish these numbers. I'll wrap up in just a second. Give me 30 seconds. How much time we got? Because I love this conversation.
We're not on time. We're not on time constraints.
Okay. All right, cool. So if you have 417 people paying $50 a month, you can make $250,000. Or if it's $100 a month, some sort of recurring program, 209. And I'm gonna tell y'all, goodness gracious, I'm gonna tell y'all something that this one dude told me. He said, because I was actually telling about my program, and he said, you have to figure out a way to put the hooks in a customer. I said, well, what do you mean? I don't understand. He said, well, I have a software. He said you have to have something that allows them to build on your platform, but there's some sort of negative for them leaving. Meaning, he has this like white label software, or he built out this software that gathers all of this data, and as long as somebody's on the program, they have access to their data. But if you ever try to leave one platform and go to the next, You ever notice sometimes the transition be so difficult? Well, that's by design, because we want you to be comfortable here, and we want to have some sort of tie to the recurring program. So LA Fitness does it best. You have to put up $100 or $200, whatever, registration fee. Well, it's only $30 a month. But I know if I get off this $30 a month, when I come back, I got to put the $100 back. That joint has had me on LA Fitness, a gym I don't go to ever for like the last 6 years because I don't want to pay the extra $100. So you have to figure out, as you go through this process, you'll figure out your customer and start thinking about different ways to keep people retained. So,
Well,
all right.
all right. So in the 3 Ps, to me, the most important part of any entrepreneurship business is promoting. Yeah. People don't know about your business. You can have the best business in the world. They got to know. McDonald's doesn't have the best burger, but they've created enough brand awareness where people come for their services, right? So promotion, what's the deal with the promotion aspect of it?
Man, ask somebody to buy your stuff. That solves a lot of problems to entrepreneurs. Believe it or not, most people just will not ask people to buy their product or service. Just ask a bunch of people. And I come from an era where you had to like go up to somebody and ask them to buy the t-shirt. Now we build a business with link in our bio. We just make a post, we create some content, but I had to ask someone. And I'm not just talking about promotion in terms of like, all right, we got this podcast, we put it out there. That's one way of doing it. But you have to think of every single way that you can push your product, and it's going to start with you believing that your product actually solves a real problem. So there's a couple ways we can do this promotion thing. We can hustle, which I'm a hustler. I just go out there and I'm gonna go make some money. I got this book, and I'm gonna be a vendor at InvestFest, and I'm gonna be a vendor at these events, and I'm gonna go to the schools, and I'm gonna create content of me selling the product. That's a part of the promotion. Or we can leverage. There's a couple of different ways we can leverage, whether it's leveraging social media, whether it's leveraging other platforms, whether it's leveraging advertisement. So they have this thing where you can go joint live with somebody, and people have figured it out. Oh, you want to get on, sell my product to my audience while we're on live together? Well, I'm going to charge you to go live with me. And I'm telling you, that is somewhat of an effective strategy sometimes. If you have somebody that has a micro influence and you're looking at their lives and they're doing Instagram live and there's 100 people on there, well, you might want to invest in somebody saying, will you take out some time of your day and let me do a joint live with you? I'd be happy to pay you for your time. Or we can leverage different platforms.
I think that's, for sure. And let's break this down a little bit because, all right, so let's start with social media, right? That's the most important aspect of it. Let's do this. Social media is very important, right? So there's 2 ways how you can promote on social media. Organically and paid, and you can do a hybrid approach, right? Mm-hmm. But organically is vitally important because that's something that's going to take longer, but that's more community feel. That's our pathway is the organic path, right? Creating content that's different from other people, important to be creative, engaging content, regularly scheduled content, being consistent, not selling a product first, selling it later, building a trust community ad, and then selling it on the back end. And then, of course, there's the paid ads, like you said, paid ads or paid collaborations, stuff like that, right? Do you want to touch on those aspects from the organic standpoint and the paid standpoint and maybe the hybrid, just for people that's trying to figure out social media?
Yeah, absolutely. So organic is that hustle. Like you are doing what you can to build your following and build that's why I think sales targets are important sometimes, because we have a target of getting this product or service in the hands of as many people as possible. It doesn't look as cool to go to your neighborhood and record yourself going through the neighborhood, knocking on doors, saying, yo, can I clean your house? Can I cut your grass? Would you like to buy this product? But it does make for good content. Listen, I want some of you all to turn your entrepreneurial endeavors, your promotion, into content. Meaning, I'm going to go out and I actually just dropped some merch, right? So I'm building out this whole little story on how I used to sell T-shirts out the back of my trunk, and I'm going back to it. But I'm not doing it because I need the sale of the sweatshirt or the T-shirt. But I'm turning it into content. I'm hoping that I have a day where I go up to a bunch of people and I try to make a sale, and a lot of them say no. Well, why would I hope that I fail in that way? Well, I'm gonna have a camera there and I'm gonna be documenting the journey because it makes for better content. For me, I'm not embarrassed by the no. I don't get anxiety about it, no. But this is me going out, coming up with a creative way to sell my product. Sometimes calling somebody saying, yo, I was on this Earn Your Leisure Live, and they said I got to call 5 people today, so and sell my product because I haven't really been selling like that. Would you like to buy my product? I'm just doing it because Earn Your Leisure told me this is one of the strategies. It lowers that anxiety of the promotion because most people are just afraid of a no. But now at this point, it doesn't matter what the answer is because you are creating content, you're building a story. So that's actually how I started, y'all. Like just out there hustling, grinding, creating content of the journey. Please, please, please do not be afraid to promote and get a no. This is a story, and people buy my book because I wrapped in all of my failures into this book, and I sell all my books for $30, meaning I sold all my failures for $30 a piece, and I continue to tell it. So keep going through the story, keep all that. Like I know y'all still got them living room iPhone interviews up. It's the story.
Yeah, and shout out to Anthony Jackson. He said brand awareness, direct to consumer is very important. But there's a part of it, and you can probably relate to this directly. Building the brand while building yourself as well, right? Because people need to know kind of who you are in order to trust you to affiliate you with the brand. I think Pinky's done a really good job of that, where you can see there's a brand and then there's the personality. For a while, your Instagram was Sleep for Suckers, Sleepers for Suckers, Sleepers for Suckers. Recently, you changed it to David Shands. Talk about that path of building both and wanting to separate the two, or maybe not separate. And when is the appropriate time?
Yeah, I think for me, it went so far away because, for one, when I started selling the T-shirt brand, it wasn't about me at all. It was about the T-shirts. So, like my Instagram name, Sleep is for Suckers, my like even if you like looked at my social back then, it wasn't my whole social kind of like how Support Black Colleges does it. It's all about the product and all about the brand, and you can do it a couple ways. Because I was shy, I was a little nervous, but Sleep is for Suckers is the T-shirt brand that I wrapped my entire world around. My whole brand was about this, and I wanted people to not I don't ever want somebody to be mistaken and think that this isn't what I do and this isn't where my heart is. Some people tiptoe into entrepreneurship. I'm telling you, if y'all gonna build something, your whole brand needs a whole nother revamp. Your whole brand needs to be about it. Your whole world needs to be about it. But now it's been so far removed since I sold Sleep is for Suckers t-shirts. It just didn't make sense into where I'm going right now. You know what I mean? So that's why I decided to change my name, because the people that follow me now, like, I don't know what Sleep is for Suckers is, but it sounds like a cool name. But it was a t-shirt brand I built a while ago. So that's why I changed. However, I changed my name, but I never stopped changing I never changed the message.
Yeah, I feel like just for like the new entrepreneur, and maybe you can give them some advice here. Like they'll have a page and then it'll be the product, but you'll see pictures of their kids and have nothing to do with the product, or they might have went to Aruba and that's on the page and right. That's separation of business and personal.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
Bruh, social media is not unless you're building a personal brand. If you're trying to sell a product, everything on your page needs to be about that product. Listen to this, and I want y'all to take notes. Social media is either a tool or a toy. It's either a tool or a toy. My whole life, social media has been a tool. I use the tool to build stuff. Sleep is for suckers every day on my page. I don't care to share that me and my friends are out at the club. So what? That has nothing to do with my business. Everything needs to be strategic. So some people use it as a toy. You scroll and you play on social media and you're looking at IG models and you like posting funny memes that does nothing for your brand. Now, once you really start to like understand the brand that you're building, the persona, well, I will throw something of me and my wife on my page because I want people to know that this shows commitment. I don't get nothing from like bragging on my wife or posting my wife. That doesn't do anything for me personally. But it does show my audience, yo, this is a faithful, committed man. He's committed. He's willing to post his wife. That says something about my brand. Sometimes I'll post a picture of my kids because what that says is, oh, he's a family man. I'm not just trying to show you all my kids. I don't care if you ever know what my kids look like. But everything I post on my social media is to shape the mind of the person watching that this is who this person is. So I'm asking y'all to take social media more seriously. Stop treating it like a toy. Stop playing with social media. If you want to share stuff with your family, do that on Facebook or in the group chat. If you want to share funny memes, text it to your friends. But keep it off social media unless it's a part of the brand and the idea that you're shaping in the mind of people. That's how I approach social media.
And then also before we leave this topic, is I also wanted to, the promotion comes in a few different ways, right? So you talked about, of course, social media, and then like email, text, marketing. That's marketing, right? But the best way to actually market is through word of mouth. So you can create that organically just by creating good content or just creating a buzz and people just talk about it, or you can be a little bit more forceful. So for people in services, vitally important to always get referrals, right? And that's something that is a lifeline for entrepreneurs, especially in the service-based industry. But I think people kind of go about it the wrong way. They just ask like, do you know anybody that I can work with? And the human response is, let me think about it. And what that means is that they are never going to get back to you with anything, right? You got to have a system in place to actually kind of pin them down for referrals, right? Like, so it's like, okay, do you know anybody that fits this criteria, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of put them on the spot. Like, do you mind giving me their information now, right? And they're like, well, what they're going to say is, I want to talk to them first. No, I would actually want you to talk to them, but I know that you're busy, so I don't want you to forget. So if you give me the information, then what I'll do in 2 days, I'll contact you to see if you spoke to them first, which is best practices anyway, because if not, then it's just like a cold call, right? So you got to kind of make it a little bit uncomfortable to get the referrals, but it's worth it. In any type of service or sales business that you're doing, that's a way of marketing too, because when they're contacting somebody, they're not just going to say, hey, I gave this person your number. They're going to say, hey, I've been working with this lady. She did my hair. Let's say you're a hairstylist, right? Hey, she did my hair. She's really dope. And, she asked me for a few of my friends. So I gave her your number. And then they're going to say like, well, is she good? Yeah, no, she's good. They're endorsing you already. Right. Yeah. So by the time you call her, it's already soft. It's not like a cold call. It's a warm call. Right. Mm-hmm. So understanding how to position referrals is vitally important to the success of a business. And that's a form of marketing that I think people don't look at it as marketing or promotion, but that's actually probably even more efficient than buying a billboard. Right. Like if you get 10 people to really tell 3 people. Now that's 30 people that you can actually have in your pipeline. You always want to have people in your pipeline. So the referrals not talked about enough, but for entrepreneurs, vitally, vitally important.
Absolutely. And I think the prerequisite to that is actually service them well. You know what I mean? Like, make sure it's a referral where, like, when they call, like, yo, your man's calling me about a bit. Yo, are they good? Make sure they're saying, yo, it was an amazing experience. But I mean, yeah, he's cool. He definitely, it was cool. Make sure you're providing an amazing service. But I think at the end of the day, the goal is to spread your message to as many people as possible. And I think the missing piece to a lot of people is maybe we're always looking for people to give us the answer. But if you sat down for 10 minutes, undistracted with your phone on silent, you'd come up with a creative way to get in front of more people. I'm like, yo, go promote your business. And, how many sales could you make? And this young lady said, well, I could probably make 3 sales by the end of the day. I said, well, what if I said I was going to give you 10,000 to make 5 sales by the end of the day? Could you do it? She said, yes, which means something's missing on this internal motivation that you don't want to get out there. You can't be like a secret agent about your business. You can't keep your business a secret. You have to make it obvious that this is what you do. You got to make it obvious. So believe in it, man. Push it. Promote it.
But you also got to keep your clients. Keep
100%.
That's client retention is vitally important.
Facts.
Right? And getting, like, even that, what you just described, people, that's how they look at, like, they got to hustle. I got to always meet new people. Not necessarily. If you keep a pipeline of people that you have in your ecosystem and then get referrals from those people, you're not in that same hustle trying to get, like, if you have 100 customers that's coming in, right? Let's say whatever. And you satisfy those 100 customers. Periodically, you ask them for referrals. They give you 2-3 referrals at a time, right? Before you know it, you're going to have 300 customers off that ecosystem of the 100 customers versus off their referrals. Now, you're not necessarily, you don't even have to actually go out and hustle and market. But if you don't look at it from that standpoint and you look at it as a revolving door, that's not a sustainable business model either, because you're going to get burnt out doing that, right? Like if I just close you, the worst thing in sales, the worst thing to do is to get it closed if you don't have a system in place, because you know that now you're broke again, right? No matter how much money I made off of you, I'm broke again because I'm only as good as the last thing that I kill. So, but if you got the ecosystem and you can keep this, and you got to make sure that you can, a client usually buy, if you get one customer, they got to buy multiple different products, right? Like if they like you, so it's like if they subscribe to your subscription based model, right? Your job is to, okay, we got to sell them merch because they're part of the community. We're going through the event. They got to come to the event because they're part of, the tribe, right? They got to buy my book when the book comes out, because before you know it, you've sold one person 6 different things.
100%.
That's important too. A lot of people leave money on the table because they don't look at it like that. They just look at it as a revolving door. I'm selling one thing. I sold the ticket. All right, okay, keep it going. Nah, that client should be not only giving you other clients, but buying multiple things across the ecosystem.
That's the recurring item, right? So we talked about the recurring monthly, but the recurring item, right? So like now I have a new item. It's a new year. There's a new product, right? It might be, like you said, it could be an event. It could be a tour. It could be a book. It could be an entirely new product that we're offering that we've never done before. But you got to be innovative. Like that's one of those things too. But as I'm listening to y'all talk, I'm wondering, for that person who doesn't come from sales and that person who might be an extreme introvert, like what are the things that person does in this space? Is it find a partner with those strengths, or are there some strategies that they can use to actually try to, I guess it would, I don't know if it would be fair, but try to combat some of the things that they lack when it comes? Because if I'm a 9 to 5, I've never been in this entrepreneurial journey. This is all new. How do I get these skills? How do I accumulate them?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to come down to a decision because somebody put it in. It was earlier in the conversation. They put it in the chat, but I'm bad at sales.
Yeah, I saw it.
Get better at it.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, you want to
Exactly.
walk around. If you want to walk around with that handicap for the rest of your life,
Or
it's up to you.
if you tell yourself you bad at sales, you're gonna be bad at sales.
100%. I mean, that first 100,000 you can make off sheer hustle and on your own. Now, making millions takes a little more leadership and building team and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we got to start somewhere. If you're not an entrepreneur but you want to be an entrepreneur, I'm telling you, go get a product that you think people are going to like and attempt to make a sale. Someone's going to buy from you. Someone's going to buy from you. But I don't want you to get upset when your friends and family don't. So there are people that like get upset because, oh, my best friend didn't buy from me. I try to start a business, but nobody supports me. Well, your business shouldn't be built off support anyway. Your business needs to be built off you solving a problem for people. Find more people to solve a problem for and just try to make a sale. Whether you win or lose in this scenario doesn't matter. How much money you make doesn't matter. But you should be proud of yourself that you started, you went through the process, you got this idea out of your head and into the world, and now you've asked some people to buy. I don't care if you ask one person a week. Well, next week, go ask 2 people. I don't care how many people actually buy. You just need to get in the game. You cannot learn how to make $1 million on a webinar. You can't learn to make $1 million on this hour-and-a-half live. You can't learn how to swim by reading a book about it. You got to jump in the pool, almost drown, kick your feet frantically, get out one day, and then someone tells you what you did wrong. Do you jump back in and you get to tread a little bit? It's a lot going on. Do you get out and you take another lesson? Maybe you watch some more videos. You learn. If you have a handicap that you know is keeping you back, you get to decide if you keep that handicap or not.
And you have to work with somebody else. That's important too. If selling is something that can be learned, but it also is a skill. It's like anything, right? Like some people are more talented than others when it comes to actually being able to communicate, sell, play off of emotions. So if you just cannot put it together to do that, then you have to find somebody that can do that for you, because there's no good. You can't have a business if you're not selling something. So if I would say like Dave said, you got to try it yourself. You got to, but if all else fails and you completely just cannot do it, then you have to find somebody that's strong where you're weak at.
Mm-hmm. Or join somebody else's business. Yeah, ain't nothing wrong. First off, it's nothing wrong with having a job. And there are people who have jobs that make more than all of us on this line. They add value to a company. A CEO doesn't necessarily own the business, but there are CEOs that make $100 million because they solve a problem, they add value. Listen, the only way to get rich is not through entrepreneurship. And some of you don't need to force it. Maybe you've declared, making a sale is not for me. However, me putting an organization together or a system together for an existing company, that will be my bag. Well, maybe you come in, add some value, and you ask for equity for your skill set. You can still be an entrepreneur, but you're adding value for equity in a particular company. I do that. I've been doing that lately where I have a skill set. I don't have the time and capacity to be out there hustling, but they hustling. I have insight. I have relationships. With the things that I have, I can be a part of this. So I don't want y'all to think that the only way to become successful is to even get good at sales. If you desire to build your own thing, it's some things you just got to do. But ain't nothing wrong with joining somebody else's movement. Ain't nothing wrong with being a part of somebody else's company.
There you have it. A lot of good information I think people can utilize in so many different aspects of starting their journey, or if they already are on their journey of entrepreneurship. So Dave, always a pleasure. Any last words that you would like to say?
Yeah, man. The next 2 months are very, very critical to your success. So we got November, December coming up. Some of you may not need to focus on building something big this year, but maybe you have these next 2 months to lay a foundation for an explosive 2025. So what we'll do over the next 2 months is identify the things we need to get better at. Maybe we spend the next 2 months figuring out what product or service we're going to offer. We don't got to rush it for Black Friday. We are preparing ourselves. We are saving some money to put into this camera that we're going to get because we're going to start this new career of photography. The next 2 months are going to be very, very critical to your success because these next 2 months lay the foundation for the following 12. And if you will take the next 2 months, November and December 2024, seriously, coming up with an idea, improving your skill set, working on your networking, asking all the questions that need to be asked, I guarantee you 2025 will look so much different than every other year of your life. So we about to lock in next 2 months. Let's get to it.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. And yeah, community is vitally important. That book that I said, 12-week year, we actually read that book in our book club. We have a book club at EYL University. So this at midnight, that offer, speaking of sales, that offer that we ran on Market Mondays, as far as this is the last sale that we're actually doing for the year for EYL University, is over. And the code is Market Mondays at EYLUniversity.com. And sometimes in life, Dave, you need to be part of a community with like-minded individuals that can help push you. You learn from, you can find business partners. You got to be part of a tribe. You can go fast alone, but you can go far together. So EYLUniversity.com, code Market Mondays, midnight, Cinderella, the slipper.
When the clock hits November 1.
Dave, always a pleasure, my brother.
Love is love, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
All right, y'all be safe. All right, man. We got to say goodnight to the folks, man.
All right, guys. Thank you, guys. Play the replay. Subscribe to Earn Your Leisure on audio podcast outlets, Apple and Spotify, if you are listening on the audio side. And we will be back. We'll be in Houston on Saturday for the in-person event for EYL University. And of course, we'll be back on Monday with a very special episode of Market Mondays, presidential debate. We're bringing some very high-profile people on the Republican side, on the Democratic side. That'll be the last opportunity before Election Tuesday.
Yeah.
So, very big moment.
And we still got the market. We got still the market. I mean, today was crazy. So we definitely got to talk about that. We just saw what happened with Super Semi. So yeah, a lot to talk about by Monday, man. And it's pre-election, which is crazy. I think early voting ends in New York on Sunday. Shout out to everybody that has taken that liberty. Should be an interesting week ahead.
There you have it, guys.
Love is love. We see y'all. Peace.